like butter. I can't even. I'm holding, it just goes. Like you can't. It's like he's stabbing you with a knife. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just bone. It just. Okay, so McShake and Bake Falafel Cart says, is GH worth the money? From my understanding, the main benefit is fullness and then some skin thinning abilities with certain brands like Serostim and Norditropin. Are those effects really any better than injectable Winnie with some Anapolon? Or is GH that big of a game changer? If so, is there any short-term protocol to reap all the benefits without killing your bank account? Well, there's no short-term protocol, but what do you think about the rest of it?
That's a good question because I think some people it's actually really beneficial. Like it makes a huge difference. And then some people it doesn't really do much for. Like even with high IGF levels, it doesn't do much for. But I will tell you what, that Sizen GH, the pharmaceutical grade Sizen, there was one time where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna run it at like 4 to 6 IUs a day. And it did change my skin. It did.
GH
Like,
15 approved. That was
yeah,
GH.
it changed my skin texture for sure. So GH, yeah, I don't like when people say, "Oh, growth hormone is growth hormone." There is different types of GH that do different things. You know what I mean? Like they one. That's why Chad Nichols is big on this too. Switching it up. Don't just stay on the same brand for your fucking whole career. Use six weeks here, 6 weeks here. Yeah,
that's true. Really, you develop antibodies. It stops working as well. You have to switch it up. I'll say one thing. Look, I honestly was never bodybuilder and never big or anything like that. But when I was 22, when I was really young, I have no pictures of this. The first time I used steroids, I was in Dubai. So I had a lot of steroids and a lot of GH and everything. When I took the GH, I transformed. I think it's because I was younger. When I tried it when I was 27, it wasn't as effective.
What brand did you use?
That was honestly Chinese stuff, but it was good Chinese stuff.
Yeah.
But I used Norditrop and all that. But when I was younger, my shoulders, I mean, I had huge shoulders. Like I looked like I couldn't get past through a door. Only from the Tren and the GH when I combined them together. Some of that GH15 stuff was true. The danger, obviously, for your health is a separate issue. But like, I believe that the only way somebody can go from Nick Walker, how he looked like when he started with small arms and a big waist, to being a mutant, that's only through GH and insulin. You can't do that from anabolics.
Yeah, well, we both know that Matt pushes that, and Matt's paying for all that anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, there's another GH question. Let's ignore that one. This one's not the blood sugar question. I'm trying to skip through them a little bit because I want this one to be a bit shorter because I don't want to tire you out. But Daniel Weschler says, how to know if you are ego lifting or need to add more weight or lower the weight? What do you think about that? You're not much of a big lifter. How do you choose your weight?
I'm the weakest lifter I know of.
But you like to arm wrestle with professionals. I don't know why. You want to break. He broke his arm with a professional arm wrestler named Devin Larratt.
Who did?
Ian Valliere.
Oh yeah, I know that.
I didn't know that. Yeah, you're about to do the same thing.
No. You know what it was, dude? Is like Ian went into it and he probably didn't warm up. I at least warmed up, dude. Like I did all the warm ups and shit. You know.
No, the truth is, any really good arm wrestler, which Devin Larratt is one, can stop you from breaking your arm. I'm really suspicious about how that happened. Unless it happened really suddenly and Devin didn't see it.
Devin is the one that fucked his arm up?
Yeah. Do you know Devin?
I know of him because the chick that runs the gym with the guy that owns it, she always posts about him.
Yeah,
he's a Canadian arm wrestler, which is crazy because he's skinny as fuck, and to know that he's like one of the best is crazy.
He wasn't always that skinny, and also, by the way, Devin's a legend. You know, Devin's been on like 10. Like he used to be like a SWAT, like a special forces guy. He's done like 10 missions in Iraq, Afghanistan. He's like a war hero. Incredible.
So Ian had no chance of beating him.
Oh, there's no you couldn't even move. And look, an arm wrestler doesn't need muscle. Those guys have tendons and bone that they just hold you. There's no way you're gonna go through it.
So Ian, even as strong as Ian is, no way.
Bro, my arm wrestling coach, okay, I could do double the weights than him. Scott Mendelson too. Look, Scott Mendelson with us. It's me, Scott, and Vazgen. Vazgen, obviously, Scott is a freaking behemoth, and I was double as strong as Vazgen. I get on the table, Vazgen moves through me like butter. Like butter. I can't even. I'm holding. It just goes. Like you can't. It's like he's stabbing you with a knife. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just bone. You can't do anything about it. But what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about ego lifting. So what do you think about that?
I think if you think you might be ego lifting, you probably are.
Yes, exactly. And also, I think if you're bodybuilding, I don't know anything about bodybuilding because I lift for strength. But if you're bodybuilding, I don't think that you should be doing the Ronnie Coleman jerking weights thing.
No, not at all.
It's best
No.
for your muscle. It worked for him, but I don't think it will work for me or for somebody else. You have to be able to move properly. So if you can't move properly, you're ego lifting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%.
So there's a cycle review. You've never done one of these on the show. So this guy, My Dear Wolf, he says, "Hey Boston, I'm about to start a cycle which I created for myself. It's 500 test, 250 EQ, 250 deca with 2 IU GH, 2 IU IGF-1 LR3, and 10 IU of insulin for the first 10 weeks. Then for the next 6 weeks, 250 test, 300 primo." So he's reduced the test, switched the EQ to primo, added Mastron, 200 Mastron and 300 Tren. This is too complicated. 300 Tren A with 2 IU of GH and 2 IU of IGF-1 LR3 and 10 IU of insulin. Should I switch or readjust any compound above? Also thinking of sprinkling some Trestolone maybe once a week for good measure.
So I would say, okay, I only really caught on to that second cycle you said, but I would say always have more tests than primo, so or the same. So if you're going to do 300 primo, do at least 300 tests. And I would also, I wouldn't combine primo and Mastron as they're both DHT drugs unless you're pre-contest getting ready for a show and you're going to do it the last 6 weeks. I wouldn't combine those two. But if you're getting ready for a show, that's acceptable. Now, the first cycle was 500 tests. What?
The first cycle was 500 tests, 250 EQ, 250 deca. So basically, he seems to want.
I think the doses are just too low for. I think you'd be better off. I think you'd be better off just running 750 tests.
Yeah, to be honest, these I know people like to use low doses, guys, but you're not gonna go that far with this stuff. 250 EQ is I can't even feel that.
It would be pointless.
I can't even feel 250 EQ. 250, it's a deca is a bit.
250 deca, he would get some joint relief.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but as far as it being anabolic at that dose, I'm not too sure.
Not at all. And then the primo, primo will dry you out. You don't need primo and Mastron.
Yeah, exactly. I would only combine those if you're last few weeks before a show. That's it.
Okay, let me tell you guys a secret. I have never used primo below 600 milligrams, and I usually use primo in grams when I used to use it. The truth is, it works very well, but you need a gram and a gram and a half, something like that. Not to start with. Start low, obviously. But for it to really work, if you're using mainly primo or EQ, those things, they work much better if you're at 800 milligrams, 600.
I just started 200 mgs 3 times a week, so 600 mgs of primo, and that's the one drug I could take with the kidney failure stuff that doesn't affect me.
The primo is actually one of the most erythropoietic drugs, so it increases your red blood cell count more than test, but less than EQ. I'm also thinking of putting some primo instead of test because I don't need the test. I took the HCG and FSH, and my sex drive is insane. It's bothering me, and I want some.
It's insane. You have to jack off and shit.
That's a problem, bro. I was not used to this. It's very, and my wife is pregnant.
Now it's really a problem since you don't have your right hand.
Oh, there's a lot of problems. My wife is 2 months from delivery, and my right hand. So I didn't try to kill it out. Yeah, exactly.